Well, I think that's happening now, David. In the last couple of seasons, we've experienced at Forest Green Rovers that our drains aren't good enough on the pitches. So conventional design for drainage for rain water, offtake isn't good enough. We're having to upgrade our designs for the new reality of when the rain comes, it just comes so intensely. We get a shed load of rain in a short, intense period. To a degree that we've not experienced before. So I'd say that's happening already. It's not flooding in the conventional sense when the land around you floods. It's actually flooding of the pitch due to inundation through intense rain. That's happening.
People are starting to put in more and more constraints to better anticipate some of these either extreme weather events, even food shortages. I've heard, throughout the supply chain, our hospitality, food and beverage providers are having trouble getting the same types of ingredients for their menu that they normally would. It's starting to affect our business. And I think there's still, unfortunately, that gap between recognizing how we can proactively reduce it and, how we're seeing those effects. I would say, though, that we have an opportunity as these venues, very prominent buildings within our communities, to help support our local communities in times of crisis and equip ourselves with the ability to do that, which I think is an area that's kind of unexplored, at least in the US.
Change the menu, right? Just move away from animal products, meat and dairy. It's so easy to do. Vegan options, plant-based options they've proliferated in the last couple of years incredibly. Fans are really open to that kind of stuff as well, and in many cases demanding that kind of stuff. We've been vegan at Forest Green Rovers for over 10 years now, from a time when it wasn't trendy or that easy. It's super easy now. The single biggest thing anybody can do is change the menu. You can take your playing surface organic, you can install electric charging points so that fans can arrive in electric cars, and you can put solar panels on your rooftop. There are actually a lot of things you can do, but biggest single one, change the menu.
I think that this is probably one of the hardest topics when it comes to building stadiums, and it has been one that's really has been hard for us because we in our plans there's only 200 parking spots, and we're aiming for 10,000 seater, so the 200 would only go to people who work at the stadium. So instead of obviously there'll be thousands of places where you can park your bikes and stuff like that. So we've been quite ambitious on that, so we haven't really tried to take into account people driving everywhere, because we live in a city where there's it's called a 10-minute city. So our airport, for example, is right in the middle of the city. But we also live in a place where there's a couple of meters of snow in the winter, -20 easy. So that's one of the hardest parts for us at the moment, is actually to do with transport and traffic. But as with so many other things, you can't really do it in a silo. You can't do it alone. So you need to talk to municipality, and you need to talk to the county and see, okay, what's actually possible here? Because in general, people need to drive less. And if we just keep thinking that we can build massive parking spots and parking places next to our stadiums, I don't see that as being very sustainable.
I love the sound of it, because I think it's a feature of big football tournaments and things like the Olympics as well. Typically the intention is that when new stadia get built, they're a legacy for the local community, and they're intended to be used after the event. And to a degree that happens. This idea of a portable stadium is a good way to deal with situations where the stadium realistically won't be used after the event, so ship them somewhere else in the world. Quite like it, really. I think the next World Cup is unfortunately going to be one of the least low carbon or zero carbon events that you could possibly imagine. Spread across two enormous countries, causing all kinds of flights for fans. When what we really need to do is concentrate in an event like the last World Cup. Actually, it was an ideal setting to concentrate fan travel into one place. And I think, unfortunately, it's gone the other way now with the next one. But yeah, I love the idea of reusable, movable stadia.
I would say in the US, our venues do a really good job with biodiversity without calling it that. So we have a lot of examples. We actually just talked about Fenway Sports Group at Fenway Park. They have a beautiful garden that's run by a local nonprofit there that makes a whole bunch of local food that's both shared within served within the stadium and shared with the community. And so those are examples that are bringing bees and pollinators back into the city without even really intentionally calling it biodiversity. I'd say we need to do better at capturing and quantifying how we're rewilding, reintroducing natural life in, but it's definitely there. I would say the other really great example is the Living Wall at Climate Pledge Arena. It's indoors, but we bring a huge amount of different species of plants into this large living wall, which I think is probably the most Instagrammed spot in the arena, if not in that area of Seattle.
Yeah, I think there's all kinds of things that could be in the ground grading rules, for example. Every stadium goes through these every year to prove that they're fit for purpose. Focus pretty much on health and safety above everything else. There are no minimum standards, for example, for recycling facilities, which could be there, or for menu options, which could be there, or for a whole host of other things. All of the things that actually we know we need to do, single-use plastics, that kind of stuff, could be in ground grading regulations from the bodies. We took this up with the UK government recently because there's a new regulator for football coming, and we were told that the environment is not the sustainability angle remit that this new regulator will have. They're looking at it only from an economic point of view, and therefore they won't pick this issue up, which I think is a massive failure. The independent regulator is a huge opportunity for football to really change itself. But there it is, but that's the big opportunity really, to mandate minimum standards on the environment in ground grading. And that would bring everybody up to the same starting place at least.
When we play our away games, how cool would it not be if you mentioned the VR glasses where you are taken to the game? But as a club, when we play away games, how about the game gets taken to us? So we sit in our stands at our new stadium, hopefully, and we can watch through VR frames that the game is happening in front of us. So you play both home and away at the same time. That's the big one.